half of this, thanks, John. For about half of this group, we were just together like 10 minutes ago to do kind of part one. And for about the other half of this group, we were together a year ago to do part one. So welcome back, everyone. For some of you, it's a really quick welcome, like just went to the bathroom, then came back. Except Christina, who's going to pick up her dog from the groomer. A little bit longer. Let's do some quick intro since we have a different group. So if you could just say hello, say where you're at. And in our last session, hey Zoe, in our last session, we talked a little bit about what we were hoping to get out of this. Why don't we go with how, just one word about how you're feeling right now. So I'm Kristen Croyle. I'm the Dean in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. I'm a psychologist, and I am feeling excited. Let's go with Christy and Julia and Preeti next.
Hi, Christy Huynh. Feeling grateful, and I'm the Dean of Students and have been working with strengths since 2005 and love it. So excited. So I forget who you said was after me.
Me, I'm Julia. I'm the chair of the chemistry department. I've been in that role for about a semester, so still learning about leading. And I look forward to learning some more things based on what we talked about in the last session.
Hi, I'm Preeti. I'm in the mathematics department, and I'm excited to learn, but also beginning to feel a little overwhelmed. In the 5 minutes that we had, I went and checked my email, and there's lots coming. So yeah, we shouldn't be doing that. But thank you.
Okay, Marat, Michelle, and Lisa.
Good morning, everyone. Murat Yaşar. I'm in the Dean's office. I'm also an associate professor of history. I'm excited to be back from remote working.
Michelle May. I am in academic support, and I am really excited about this and learning to use it more toward leadership versus just individual insight.
Hi, I'm Lisa Brancato. I'm in the Division of Extended Learning, and I guess I'll say I'm optimistic that we're learning some stuff in these sessions that will be useful moving forward.
Sarah, Mamta, and Kathy.
Hi, I'm Sarah Weisman. I'm the Penfield Library Director. I was in the previous session as well, and I am excited just to keep talking more about strengths and hearing how other people are implementing and leveraging their strengths as well.
Hi, everyone. Manta Saxena, Associate Professor, Human Development. Excited to be here. I was here last year too, so good to be back. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Kathy Evans, Assistant Vice President for Academic Support. Like Christy, I started my Strengths Fest journey with her. I thought it was 15 years ago, but I guess it was 18 years ago. And I'm just re-energized about the topic. So I'm glad to be here.
Cassie, Laura, and Kristen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie. I am in Campus Rec, and I'm currently tired.
Hi, I'm Laura Donnelly. I'm in the English and Creative Writing Department and currently the director of the Creative Writing Program. And I'd go with hopeful. I'm feeling cautiously hopeful about the coming semester, and also hopeful about thinking of leadership, not just as a one size fits all, and about the possibilities that come with that.
Hi there, I'm Kristen Haynes, Assistant Director of Rice Creek Field Station, and I'm feeling open and interested. Leadership isn't really something they teach you in academic grad school, so it's exciting.
Melissa, Amy, and Zoe.
I'm Melissa Semyon. I'm with the Division of Extended Learning, and I'm feeling really excited and intrigued on how this can be utilized to the, to the benefit of my students and our team.
Hi, everybody. Amy Dumas. I'm the Assistant Dean in Extended Learning, and I am relieved that I don't have to fix all my weaknesses. And now I have a great answer when someone asks you in an interview, what are your biggest weaknesses and what are you doing to improve it? So I'm going to tell them I don't need to, and you don't need to know that. So I'll talk about my strengths instead.
I'm Zoe Mislewich. I'm in the math department and I'm feeling curious.
That was the 3, right? I need to keep better track. Carolina, Megan, and Lee.
Hello, I'm Carolina Ilie. I'm a professor in physics department. I am the president of Sigma Xi SUNY Oswego chapter. And this is my second time in this workshop, and I am always eager to learn. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Croft. I'm the Senior Operations Administrator in the Education Abroad Department, and I am feeling open and optimistic.
Was that me, Kristen? Okay. Hi, I'm Lee Wilson, and I'm in English and Creative Writing. And I guess if I had to put it in one word, I'm feeling curious. I'm really curious about this whole process.
Michelle and Maggie.
If by Michelle you mean me, I already went.
You moved on my screen, sorry. Maggie.
I'll jump in. Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie. And I'm assistant professor in the criminal justice department and associate director of CELT. And I am feeling a bit tired, but excited to be here.
And John, let's do the people in your room.
Okay, I'm John Kane, professor of economics and the director of CELT, and I am stressed. And
Jessica Harris, I'm an assistant professor in health promotion and wellness, and I am feeling interested in this because I've done this before as well, so I'm interested to see kind of how we talk through it and how we can kind of apply it. So yeah.
Holly Stone, campus events and conference services, and I'm feeling inspired to have a great group of folks to work with.
Thank you all. Thank you. And thanks to Christy and Kathy for tag teaming this with me. It's nice to have company, especially such talented company. So I'm going to share my screen. And as a quick refresher, our goal is to get now to our cases that we want to discuss pretty fast. So we're going to go through some other things quickly. And this is the refresher for those of you who are joining us from a year ago. Why are we focusing on leadership strengths? All of us are leaders in the different roles that we serve in. Even if you don't have any direct reports, you're still a leader. And our natural impulse is to build our areas of weakness, but a focus on our strengths is much more successful and more enjoyable and less frustrating. And being aware of our strengths helps us to be more effective in our roles. Christy, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so anybody have competition in their top 5? Let's see if I can see. Because we're going to do a little competition. So if everyone could unmute, because I want to hear what you're saying as we do this activity, and get out a pen and a piece of paper. It could just be a scrap piece of paper. I'll give you 1 second to do that. We're just going to be our little metaphor for this for a minute. So if everybody's ready, if you could get your pen and your paper. When I say go, you're going to sign your name as quickly as you can 5 times. You're going to say bingo nice and loud when you're done, and you will be our winner, and I'll mark who you are, and there will be a prize, I promise. And everybody ready? You're going to sign your name as fast as you can 5 times. Ready, set, go.
Bingo.
Who was that?
Mamta.
Mamta? Woo! Okay, I'll send you your gift, Mamta. So Mamta's the winner. But that was just the warm-up. We're going to do it one more time just to give you, now you know kind of what we're doing.
Wait a minute. Do we get to see her doctor's signature and what it really looks like?
Can you
Hard
see
to
it?
see, no.
Yeah.
Can we read it?
I have a long signature too, sorry.
So we're going to sign our names as fast as we can 5 times. This time, I'd like you to change your pen and put it in your non-dominant hand. Ready, set, 5 times as fast as you can, go.
Oh my gosh.
Done.
I give up.
Carolina,
Mhm.
already?
Bingo.
Bingo,
All
right.
You were faster with your non-dominant hand.
Oh, my goodness.
It's ridiculous though.
I can't recognize my own signature in here.
I got the K and everything else is just gibberish.
The
Yeah.
bank is not going to accept any signatures like this.
Raise your hand if you spelled your name wrong.
I can't even tell.
What about if we're still going? Still working at it?
Still
working.
endurance. I like it.
And full confession, I'm actually left-handed, but forced to write with my right hand. So
Ooh,
for me, it was a
Ooh.
little bit easier.
okay. So your
Carolina,
non-dominant hand
same.
is actually your dominant hand.
Yes, yes, it used to be.
Okay. Yeah.
My dog has given up, but I had a 50-pound dog on my lap for the first one.
So I'd like to use that metaphor because when we're asked to sign our name as quick as we can, nobody asked for clarification around which hand to use. You just went to your strengths. You went to kind of your dominant hand. When you're asked to use your non-dominant hand, you could do it, right? To a different maybe degree. There was some laughing, there was some, oh my goodness, there was some, there's some giggling. You know, it's maybe uncomfortable. It maybe takes more concentration, like you have to actually think about where to move your hand. You can do that, but it's not working on your natural area of strength necessarily. And so I'd like to use that kind of as our metaphor as we're moving forward. We could live our whole lives, right? Working in these areas that just are not really totally, playing to our strengths. Or we can shift more moments and work out of kind of our areas of natural strength. And that's really where we're going to see kind of the most effectiveness. We're also going to feel, the most kind of at home and energized and curious and interested and, feel like we have the most to offer, because indeed we do. And so it's not saying, oh yeah, I don't have weaknesses. It's not denying that, but it's really saying, how can I work out of my area of strength, to move forward? And so I'll send you your prizes, but thank you everyone for playing along. And we just wanted to kind of demonstrate that as the metaphor as we move forward. So.
Thank you, Christy. So to refresh us about, and give us a moment to kind of get us into talking about our strengths. I want you to make sure that you have your top 5 strengths kind of handy. And we're going to spend a few minutes in breakout rooms talking about 1 or 2 strengths. You can focus on one if you want, that you really resonate with. What aspects of that strength really connect with you? And I'm also going to give you in the chat a reference card for a cheat sheet as you talk. So if somebody that you're talking with is talking about a strength that isn't yours and you're thinking, no, wait a minute, what is that? Ask them to explain what it is because they will know. But you can also, that cheat sheet has a little 1 or 2 sentence description of each of the strengths. So we're going to take about 5 minutes in breakout rooms. John, do you want to breakout room us, about 3 people to a room, give or take. Thank you. And you could pause the recording. That would be awesome. Okay, Jessica and Holly, you ready? You two ready to talk together? Okay, and I'm going to put myself on mute. Thanks. How did it go? Any thoughts or reactions that you want to share?
We seem to have more time this time.
I think I give you like an extra 30 seconds.
But to actually talk. And there were also fewer people in the room, so.
That helps.
I'd just say we had some interesting overlaps in ours, and I can't recall because I did this last year, how many options there are.
34.
So with 34 options, to have 2 of the things we said be ones multiple people were highlighting as key things, I thought was interesting.
Yeah, like what Laura says in our group, the 3 of us, we all had a couple of the top 2 strengths were the same. It was interesting when we were talking about like our perspectives on how we, perceive ourselves and others with those 2 top strengths. It was different because we all had different things to contribute to that discussion, even with the same strengths.
Can you give an example, Megan?
Yeah, so we were all talking, we all had learner and strategic as a top strength. So we were just kind of talking more about like how in the strategic strength, how we kind of like organize our days and, how we kind of like working, kind of behind the scenes, but also like some of us have to be, in the front, we have to be meeting with students or others, and just how we kind of like manage that. And a couple of them are saying like, oh, we have, maybe a hard time delegating tasks to others, we want to. And then I was saying, I enjoy that actually. I'd rather delegate to others and say, well, you should do this, or we can do this and you do this, so that I can focus more on like the back end work.
Thank you.
I love how dynamic, because there's 34 and, even if you have a combination, to have 2 the same that you were talking about, depending on what your other 3 are, right? There's a dynamic there that happens in terms of how that works. And so I think, yeah, that's so interesting to hear how, learner shows up for me might be different, for others, depending on what are my other, combination of strengths and what else I bring. So that's awesome. We had a lot of similarities and overlap in our group too, which was neat to see.
Christy and I have done this work for a long time together, and we've facilitated both on campus and off campus. And we find that a lot of academics have achiever. If you think about that, right? You have to be able to kind of get through that process. And learner, achiever and learner shows up really a lot with folks that are in higher ed or in academics.
I was wondering if things change over a period of time with your roles and responsibility changing or life happening to you. Maybe certain things were in the background, they just come to the forefront because of all these changes.
And for those of you who are really into psychometrics, retest reliability is good for this measure, but there is change over time, and it's probably more indicative of change in your own perspective rather than instability in the test. So if you really like testing, that was for you.
Kristen, I shared with my small group that the Gallup organization originally used to give out the top 10 to people, and they found that people just had a hard time kind of processing and understanding. So they cut back to just the top 5. But the idea that your number 6 and your number 7 and your number 8 are still a powerful force in your life. And so if you have one that you think might be in your top 10, what we say is just claim it and work within it.
Thank you. Thank you all. So I'm going to reshare my screen here. And just this one is another quick reminder that research from the Gallup organization, a pretty giant study looking at strengths and characteristics that people want and need from their leaders. And these are 4 important characteristics that people really want and need from their leaders. One is trustworthiness. They want their leaders to have integrity, to be honest. They also want and need their leaders to express compassion and caring. They want and need their leaders to embody a sense of stability, both for the organization. Organization needs to be stable, but also in stability within themselves, that you want a leader that you feel is predictable in some ways, in the sense that you understand what their values are and their priorities, and their values and priorities today are the same ones that they will be next week. You know how reassuring that is. And they want and need their leaders to be able to instill hope for the future and to have a hopeful attitude. So when we're talking about applying strengths to leadership, we're specifically talking about how to apply your top 5 strengths to be able to develop trust, to express compassion, to embody a sense of stability, and to be able to communicate hope. So we're going to practice. We've got several scenarios. We'll kind of pick and choose. We have one of the wonderful things, by the way, about this particular group of people that we're with here is that it is a mix of faculty and staff, which brings strengths of different roles into the conversation. So we've tried to create scenarios that are applicable to both faculty and staff. There are some words where you just have to make a quick word swap. So here's one. Here's our first one. You're doing all the hard work of a committee or project. So you're working on a new committee or project with a focus that you care about. You want this to actually come to a strong conclusion. But you're finding that your other committee members are less engaged than is helpful. They're showing up. That's good. They're making helpful comments. That's good too. But no one is stepping up to take the lead on the more time-consuming pieces, so it feels like it's all falling to you. Does this feel like something that could happen to you? Okay. So the question is, how might you use one of your strengths to get your committee members more engaged? So to kick us off, Kathy is going to kick us off. There we go.
So I'm going to talk about this from my own perspective, from my own strengths, and how I might go about managing this situation. Anybody who's worked with me knows that this happens all the time, right? So you're on a committee, you're really excited about it, maybe you're at the lead of it, but people come and they just kind of sit and they, offer a couple of insights, but you're trying to figure out how to kind of engage them to move forward. So I have a couple of my strengths that I would use to kind of kick this off. I have both strategic and maximizer. With strategic, I can see kind of multiple pathways, multiple ways. I often can see an answer to a problem before people even know that there's a problem. So I have to kind of help to illuminate, what the presenting problem kind of is. But I would say that my maximizer strength is the one that's really going to come into play here. And that is that I need to understand the strengths of other people in the room, give people an opportunity. I can divide things up into areas, right? Because I see the problem, but then I can draw on people's strengths to say, so we need to do this. We need to do this. These are the different things I think we need to do. Who might like to work on these different projects? My very dear friend, Chris Bushy, who was an administrative assistant in the vice president's office for a long time, she loved to do research, to kind of tackle things, to go out and find do literature reviews, those kind of things. And so she would step up and do the work in those areas where that's not something that I find kind of energizing. So having the ability to be able to ask people to work within their own strengths and contribute to the team, I think would be really helpful here.
Thank you. So thinking about your own strengths, how might you approach this? So one of my strengths is achiever. And if we were to think about achiever, how might we, any of us with achiever as a strength, be able to use that in approaching this particular situation? Any thoughts? I should put in the achiever. If you don't have this just at the tip of your brain, achiever are people who work hard and have a lot of stamina and take satisfaction in being busy and productive. That's from the kind of shortcut reference card. List of actionables. Thank you, Lisa.
So, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Laura, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, as I saw the hypothetical situation and was thinking about it, I'm curious to hear ways to use achiever in it, because I was actually looking at mine and I thought, oh, that's the reason I'm often doing a lot of the work, and was thinking about like other strengths of mine included like developer and learner, and trying to maybe let my achiever self actually take a backseat and welcome my developer and learner self in to like notice areas of interest maybe the committee people have that would inspire them to get more involved, give positive feedback on those areas of interest, show interest in it. But I'm also interested in how to have the achiever part be more useful in this situation.
Excellent. Murat, you want to add?
That's exactly what I was thinking with my achiever too. I have it, and that I thought was what was driving me to do all the work most of the time if I need to. And I do have the stamina, and I thought that was kind of, now it sounded like a weakness now with that case study almost. But I guess you can pivot it to kind of use that strength to perhaps identify responsibilities and actionable items, as Lisa said, and work from that angle. And I guess that's what Kristen and Christy, you were trying to say about these various categories too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I know that one of my traps that I fall into is I get interested in something and I think, oh, I could do that. Like, that's interesting. I could do that. And then there's just not enough time and it doesn't get done. And it's not an avoidance thing of like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's more like, I do want to do it. It just is not, I'm just not getting to it. So a trap for me in a committee meeting like this would be me thinking, oh yeah, I can take care of that. I can do that. That's fine. That's my achiever side talking. So what my achiever side can say instead is, oh, let's list the actionables. Okay, let's do some assignments. Who's gonna, and I could follow up, but I can't do everything on the list. And I just need to remind myself that. But I love the idea of using learner and developer to supplement as a way to put yourself in a different role and to see yourself in a different role in that. Christy, you want to add anything there?
I just think, yeah, we're heading on a good point in terms of, you know, our areas of strength, and there's a whole nother session we could do on kind of the dark side, or managing those, right? In terms of, you know, that they can be, you know, kind of get a little unwieldy. So I think identifying that, and then I love the examples of, yeah, just using other strengths in combination, or putting that one a little bit towards, you know, the back, or reframing it using, you know, that stamina to think about creating, you know, a plan that then also kind of pulls in other folks. And so, yeah, great insights.
Love that. Thank you.
Any other strengths that, as we were reading the scenario, folks thought of, oh, this is, you know, how I'd use this one to.
So I was thinking the relator, you know, like talking to people and finding out individually, talking to them and seeing what is kind of holding them back when they have those insights. Maybe it's not a good time period. So kind of managing or remanaging those expectations, maybe rescheduling some stuff, so that, you know, people can do it at a time when they're not so stressed, instead of, you know, like, let's do it here and now. And then also maybe, you know, assigning like 2 people who are working together very well to do something. So kind of remanaging the entire project, rather than either just, you know, not doing it or taking it all on myself.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you.
May I add something to the achiever and relator? Actually, I think I saw this in a previous committee, and it's also very useful to move the achiever property from ourselves to the committee itself. And one strategy I noticed, and it's pretty useful, when somebody gives an opinion or a suggestion, to actually give them some thing to do related to what they are passionate about, and which is of course part of moving the process forward, because then people are invested, they don't feel they are, you know, imposed on doing one thing or another, they're not interested, and things are moving forward. So of course, achiever and relator in this case, knowing how to talk to the people and to make them, you know, move forward and accomplish things as a group. So this, I guess it's working pretty well.
Thank you. Shall we try another case? Okay, we have way too many, by the way. I have like enough for 2 hours worth of cases. So let's do building trust in a new role. So you've stepped into a new leadership role, and your team members have had some leadership shifts in the last couple of years that seem to have made them a little wary of new people. By the way, I still have people saying, I've already worked with 28 different deans. It's not 28, but it's like 10. I've already worked with 10 different deans. Like, oh, for heaven's sakes. Yes, you have. And now you're working with me. Sorry, let's get back to the case here. So you're stepping into a new leadership role. People are a little wary, or you're stepping into a new role as chair and people are a little wary because you're changing your responsibilities. How might you use your strengths to build trust with your team in your new role? Okay, so this is specifically asking about building trust. Take a minute to think about that.
I think I can talk about it a little bit. So with the empathy, I think this can be understood better. It is quite possible that when you go from one role to the other, people are going to be wary because they do not know your strengths. They have seen you in a certain role. So instead of actually getting insecure about it, I think a good idea would be to be more compassionate about it and try to create some trust. Maybe individual meetings with each person would be helpful. Talking about what are some of their fears, what are some of their, and not assuming too much either, because maybe there is nothing in there. So it's kind of like a tricky road also in some sense. You know, you don't want to assume too much that they are wary of you, but you still want to kind of like be more open and show yourself being more open and flexible. I think that would be a better idea.
Mm-hmm. So thinking about the strengths that all of you have, let's pick one and use it as an example. How might you use, Kathy, is there one that comes to mind? You know, I'm leaning towards learner, but I don't want to like just insert my like strong proclivity towards learner into every conversation.
No, I think you should explore that a little bit, Kristen. There's a lot of people who have that, so explore that a little bit more.
So how might you use learner to help to create trust in a new team, in your new leadership role?
So I could actually, I think what I would do would be to learn more about the members of the team, to identify those particular strengths that they have, and to ask them how they, you know, what they would like to bring to the team. What do they feel that, you know, they'd be willing to kind of take the lead on, and to really capitalize, I guess, on those strengths and show them that you value those strengths.
So you wouldn't be like going in all gangbusters, let's do this and this and this. You would be going in, let me learn about you and your strengths, and then together. Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
Oh, I think building on that, so she focused a lot on learning about the team members, and I think you could also spend time learning about how they think the former chair or former leader performed, what they did well, what they liked about the running of things under that leader, and room for improvement as well. So if there were things that under the previous chair, you find out a lot of members of the department really didn't like how this process went, or how this sort of thing, or how this ran. So I think as a learner, you go in and look for not just what I thought went well under the previous chair, but what others think went well.
Julia, I like that because it's like tracing the timeline, right? Of like the department. So like one of my strengths is input, and that's one of the things for input is looking at the historical like context, right? So like I just stepped into a supervisory role this past summer, and just looking back and seeing how things were done before I started, even though I was in the department for, several years prior to this, just kind of knowing that and being able to trace it has helped me a little bit, and being able to step into this new role.
It's interesting because I hear we all have a lens through which we see the strength. When I hear Melissa talk about her learner, it sounds a lot like a developer too, right? Where a developer, takes pride and gets a lot of satisfaction out of the small incremental kind of improvements. And so there's just a lot of overlap over all the different strengths and how the lens through which kind of we see them. And Maximizer, there's a lot of similarities there with Maximizer as well too.
Catalina, do you want to add?
Yes, just briefly. I think it's also important to learn about the common values and the things which unite people, because it's extremely important to know what are the dissensions or the fights or whatever different opinions in a group or in a department or in a committee, because those would be just a bigger rift in your group, and is not conducting to progress and work and good atmosphere. You need to give them good atmosphere in order to be able to be creative. So then if you know the common values, then you can build on the common values and move forward and relate it to the goal of the group and what is good for a department or students and so on and so forth. So then it's everybody's goal, everybody's value. So then people are more prone to make, different, to work towards it and accomplish things. So I think it's important.
And I want to tell you one thing that I'm hearing that I think is really nice. So what I asked was, how could you apply a strength to build trust? And it's very easy to go straight to an answer that is about what you would do. I would make sure that we would have, regular meetings with everyone with agendas. Well, that's not a bad strategy. It's not. But why would you do that? It could be an outgrowth of a learner's strength, or it could be a strategy for maximizing other people. I mean, there are many different reasons that you could do that tap into your particular strengths. And you are doing a really excellent job of applying it in a strengths-based lens. I mentioned in the previous session, I'll just mention it again, that one of the reasons that I find this approach so helpful is that it was difficult for me when I moved into leadership positions to recognize the things that I was doing that are leadership. I was doing them because they seemed like a good idea. And I would question myself about whether that was leadership. So it was reassuring to me to say, oh, wait a minute, I have these strengths, and this is why this approach seems like it will be the most effective for me, because it's like, this is the way I view things, and doing it this way is leadership. And I can approach it this way in a way that will help everybody else to meet their goals and move the institution forward. So I hope that when you are looking at your strengths, you have a similar experience where you say, all of this makes sense to me, except maybe this part. And that's fine. Just like push that part aside. All of this makes sense to me. When I'm doing these things, this is leadership. And if I do them more, That's better leadership because I'm working from an area of strength.
I think this is a really neat example. I'm looking it up against the, what people want and need for leaders, so this feels like it has all of those pieces in terms of trust and compassion and stability and hope. It touches on all those. And if we think about, we've talked about specifically how would, you use learner, right, to, work under this. But, the other, I think, important thing to be thinking about is, we can build the trust and stability and hope out of any of our strengths. And it's going to look different out of a learner strength and a strategic strength and an input strength, but we can still kind of get there, and we'll get there in a different way. But I think that's the other kind of, big takeaway is that we can use whatever combination of strengths we have to move towards these, and it'll look different for everybody, and that's okay. But it is all still within this, kind of umbrella of leadership and an understanding of kind of the baseline of, of leadership. So it's always great to hear kind of the different perspectives and how you can get to this place in from different paths. So
thank you.
I'd just like to chime in real quick if I could. I have relator as one of my top 5. And for me, I think just knowing if it was like a large group, right now I'm in a department where it's just me and one other person. But, if in fact I were in a larger area, I might reach out and, say, hey, I'm new here. This is who I am. Please reply to me and let me know a little bit about you, because I'd like to know who you are. And that, that might also be a way to create trust and also just build a foundation to work off of, particularly in developing other people, which is another one of my strengths.
Excellent. Thank you. So I'm realizing what time it is. So there's a few suggestions here, and I will share these slides with you. To further explore your strengths, you can think about a couple of instances where you have been successful lately and how you use those strengths in those situations. You could consider a challenge that you have coming up and how you might use your strengths for that challenge. You could also consider how you apply your strengths to your current responsibilities and what you can learn from that. And here's a format that you can do that. You can list out, like, here are some of the things that are part of my job already that I find really interesting and that energize me. What strengths, how do my strengths align to those? And then you can use that to reflect on tasks that are draining your energy and ways that your strengths or other partnerships can help to support you in those areas that are draining your energy. Thank you again for sharing, for being here, for participating in our conversation. Remember, I do have books for you. If you want to stop by Culkin this week, they're in the Dean Suite in Culkin 601. If you don't, we'll campus mail them to you. Either way is fine. And if you are interested in a deeper understanding of some of your strengths, some of the strengths that are not in the top 5, like, well, what is that one? And how do people who have that strength use it? It's in the book. So if you're curious, you can read about each strength. If you're not, like, don't read the whole book. It's really boring if you just read about all 30, read about all of the strengths. Instead, you say, I want to learn more about this one, read that part. And then you can go back to it when you want to. Thank you again. And if you know me as you do, you'll know that I have a few questions for you, which are hiding. Hold on, I will find them. Oh, too many windows. They're all covering up everything. Move that over. So I would love your feedback, and Kathy and I will take it into account, and Christy, on that form. And if there's something that you would like to do in follow-up, feel free to include it in the comments and say, hey, can we get together, for a brown bag sometime, and we can talk through some of the some other scenarios or some other struggles, or just work through some of our strengths together and talk through them. That would be a possibility. So we would love your feedback. Thank you again. It's good to see all of you, and good luck this semester. I wish you much joy with your students and your colleagues.
Thank you, Kristen.